We cannot allow city government to be run primarily by men.
No, ma'am.
No. And we know when women vote, we win elections. So that's why you're here tonight. And just a little history, since it is Women's History Month, the first woman elected to the U.S. House of Representatives was in 1917. She was a Republican out of Montana named Jeanette Rankin. She was actually elected before she had the right to vote. Women didn't get the right to vote till 1920. And I should be clear, that was white women, okay? And then Shirley Chisholm, a New York Democrat, became the first black woman to be elected to the U.S. House of Representatives in 1968. Women make great leaders because we have the innate ability to dream big, to challenge assumptions, and inspire teams. We know how to translate big ideas into concrete action and results. Remember this though, if you choose this calling of election, we've got some elected officials here that at the end of the night, we're going to give you an opportunity to share a little bit. I see a couple of Peoria Park District elected officials here. I see our township supervisor here. I know our county clerk's going to be here in a minute. So at the end of the night, you guys are going to get to have a chance to hear them speak a little bit. But remember, if you accept the call to leadership, you're going to have to be willing to be misunderstood, criticized, opposed, accused, and even rejected. Trina? But at the end of the day, the most important thing is to be your authentic selves. Because I would rather die on the hill I believe in than to go along just to get along. All right? Women need other women in their lives who think they're a big deal. And we think y'all are a big deal. No competition, no backhanded comments, no jealousy, no hate, because when she wins, we all win. Thank you. And just one other thing I want to remind you, we do have 2 candidate township town halls coming up. We've sent the one out for March 6th, which is Peoria Public Schools, Peoria Park District, and ICC Board of Trustees. We're also going to have one on March 20th for at-large. There's like 100,000 people running for at-large, so we have to do them by themselves. But anyway, it's going to be at the Frank Campbell Community Center, and we'll get that up and get all the letters out to all of you within the next few days. So at this time, we're going to do what we came to do and to hear from our candidates. Martha Ross is actually out of town, so she sent us an audio of her platform. So we're going to hear Martha by audio.
Hello, this is Martha Ross, and I'm currently serving as board president for Peoria Public Schools. But I'm also running for re-election in District 1 for Peoria Public Schools, and I'm asking for your support. Some of the things that I've been really working on and have been accomplishing over the years is that I helped create an alternative program to keep children off the streets. I also participated in hiring 6 superintendents. I initiated a parent university program. This program will help parents know how to navigate and help their students. I helped to create a procurement policy that will help us increase minority spend in this area. I co-chaired the committee that changed 5 schools to African American names so that our children would have someone to look up to and know that they came from royalty. I initiated a year-round Black History curriculum. There is so much more that needs to be done, which is why I am running for re-election. And I'm asking for your commitment and your vote. I have a passion for kids, and I'm a true champion for children. So when you vote, please vote for Martha Ross on April 4th. Now, I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
All right, Martha Ross. I hope you guys can hear, because she has to So hopefully, maybe Piper, we might can put that up on our event page, and everybody can go and listen to it again if you couldn't hear it well. So now we're going to start with and what I did as you came in, I wrote your name down to come and speak. So the first one gets to come first. Miss Kelly Daniels. Oh, Kelly had to leave? Okay, all right. Alma Brown, you up.
Good evening. My name is Alma Brown, and I'd like to thank the Collaborative Peoria for providing a platform for us to share our ideas, and particularly for encouraging and supporting women in leadership positions.
Put it closer to you.
Nelson Mandela said, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." I'm running for the Board of Trustees because I'm interested in the success of Illinois Central College and care about the students in their future. I believe that everyone deserves a quality education, regardless of their financial status. I am a first-generation college graduate, and if not for community college, I would not have had that opportunity. This is why I have a passion for education and believe I can provide valuable input to the board. What better way to have an impact on the growth and development of ICC than to serve on the Board of Trustees? I've been committed to the Peoria area for over 30 years, which started when I was the City of Peoria's communications manager. I represented the city to the media and other groups, and I have a proven track record, which includes serving on boards with a focus of working to make the lives of those we serve better. My community and leadership experience includes leading the planning of the City of Peoria's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Luncheon for 30 years, serving on the Downtown Advisory Committee, Peoria Housing Authority Board, Center for Prevention of Abuse Board, and the Peoria Park District's River City Soul Fest Committee. I will bring my years of community involvement to the board and work together with our president and fellow board members to represent the interests of our students, faculty, and community. As a trustee, I can suggest initiatives to address declining student enrollment, help influence the budget while making sure we're balancing the interests of all stakeholders, and work with the other members of the board and ICC president to help ICC evolve, to offer training to adapt to the needs of the current job market and support employment assistance opportunities for students. Over the next few years, ICC will have to address numerous issues. Priority should be given to the declining enrollment at ICC. Our focus areas are students who attend ICC then go straight into a career, students who attend ICC and move on to a four-year college, students who enroll in certificate programs and then go directly to work, and adults who take advantage of ICC's courses and lifelong learning curriculum. We need to work closely with area high schools to recruit students and increase our marketing efforts. It's also important to enhance partnerships with businesses and the community in general, and utilize these resources to increase enrollment at ICC. I was very happy to see that ICC is reaching out to homeschool students as a way to increase enrollment. Financial balance is critical. Providing good pay to attract and retain the best teachers and administrators, low tuition for students, and low taxes for residents are factors that need to be considered when we look at our budget. Striking this balance and maintaining the long-term financial health of the organization is a primary role for any board. Community colleges provide a more hands-on experience. They act as a stepping stone to a four-year college, but they also prepare students to go straight into a career. We need to help people find good paying jobs and realize their potential. They can gain these skills by attending ICC. We are so fortunate to have ICC. They perform a critical role in Peoria and the surrounding communities. Illinois Central College had a tremendous impact on my educational experience and life. I was able to receive my bachelor's degree from the University of Illinois Springfield because of the partnership that they have with Illinois Central College. The instructors were able to come and teach classes at ICC, and I never had to travel back and forth to Springfield. I'm passionate about ensuring that ICC remains a valuable resource for students of all ages, offering a range of career and learning opportunities. I'm fortunate to serve on the Board of Trustees. I will use my years of community involvement and experience to focus on the future of ICC and the needs of students, faculty, and staff. I'm here today to ask you to please cast your vote on April 4th for me, Alma Brown. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Alma. Let's see who was next in the room. Joyce Horan.
Well, thank you all for being here and to the collaborative for hosting this. I absolutely agree that when women win, we all benefit. And, so we need to support each other as best we can and let the other folks sort of scrabble around. Let's take a focus and just keep moving on. I was appointed Mrs. Petty helped make this happen in 2017 to the Central District as a trustee. And in 2019, I ran for election, and I was one of the 3 that were elected. And now I'm running for re-election on April 4th. And I have been, I believe, a very active member of our community area. I have served on the Peoria City County Board of Health, the Care and Treatment Board, the Autism Spectrum Trust, a number of other not-for-profit boards. And I have an education from the University of Illinois in Champaign. I have a bachelor's degree in physiology and a master's in community health. So I have a health and wellness perspective, and so the Park District really fits in for me. It enables me to use a lot of the different talents and connections and thinking that I've had for many years. So the focus of prevention is, I think, key critical and wellness when we think about the Park District. And we have and want to, as long as we can maintain the excellence in our parks, our natural areas, our programs, and our facilities, then we can foster a really robust way for people to be able to keep themselves healthy, to be able to exercise and to interact, have social connections. Back years ago, I became involved with pickleball, and it was a struggle at the time to get the park board to recognize the importance of pickleball. It was just a growing sport, and now you hear about it everywhere, right? So I consider myself a trailblazer, so you want to follow me. But what amazing thing about pickleball is the social aspect of it, because you just get with a group of people and you have fun. So I envision that in other, I know if you go to yoga, if you're a yoga person, you probably have that same kind of experience. So that's what I want to foster for people. We faced, like many other elected entities, the pandemic, and there were great challenges. The Park District, in terms of funding, is supported around 40-45% with property taxes, and sort of an equal amount, maybe a little bit more, with fees. And sort of in the middle are grants and donations. So when the pandemic hit, everything closed up, fees dropped, right? And even years before that, property taxes have been going down because assessed valuations have been going down. So the staff really had to sort of reimagine how to provide services, how to keep things open. And I think they did a great job. Along with trustees, we worked together and we ended up after those pandemic years with balanced budgets, and we increased some of the reserves for the park district. So we were financially a bit better off, but you look to the future and we have to maintain that steady course. I'm proud of what we accomplished. Even though we had the pandemic, there were lots of things that we accomplished. In my key areas that I sort of categorize what I'm focused on is maintaining the excellence of our natural areas and our parks. And in these past 4 years, we've acquired the Forest Park Nature Center, which is the lands that the Rutherford Foundation had. Donovan Park has achieved level 1 arboretum status, and we hope that it will move on to level 2. We put in 8 new pickleball dedicated courts in Glen Oak Park. And I don't know if many of you are aware that in Springdale Cemetery, there is an historic savanna. It's from the glaciers. There are very few acres of historic savanna left, and they were under threat of being converted into grave sites for quite a number of years. And with the intergovernmental agreement that we adopted in 2022, I was able to make sure that we could ensure that that property, that the savanna is going to be transferred to the park district so that it will be saved and we won't have to keep fighting that battle. The area of diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, we have made great strides in that area. We have a really robust committee. Some of the folks in this room are members of it, and we have used the model that the school board was working on to develop a policy that we are expecting to adopt in March, so that we will have a contractor policy that is as aggressive as we can make and has higher expectations. And in my next term, what I want to do is to make sure that we take that kind of concept to the city and the county so that we can have a unified kind of voice for contracting, so we can promote minority contractors and women-owned businesses in the city and in the county of Peoria, in West Peoria and the Heights. We've had successful public-private partnerships. We now have connection with the YMCA and the Riverplex, a joint membership that's really expanded how people can use the Riverplex memberships. And I just attended today, there was an open house at the Franciscan Recreation Center where the regional office of education has opened up their alternative school in the Franciscan Rec Center. And they've done a wonderful job of remodeling, and the young people, I was talking with the Superintendent Kreider's assistant, saying the kids are really doing well because they feel like this is their place. It's built for them, and feels like a school for them. So I feel really good about that. In my next term, I want to continue working, as I said, on the diversity, equity, and inclusion. And senior programming, I think we need to be more intentional to figure out what senior programs we need, what do folks who are seniors now want compared to what traditionally was thought of 10, 15 years ago, and see how we can be intentional about making sure we can meet those needs, because we are all aging, and as a community, we're aging. Another major focus is in the area of urban forestry and nature therapy. When Harrison and McKinley schools are torn down, there is a lot of land that's going to be available. And we know the PHA wants to do housing development around Harrison and maybe other areas. And I'm going to be focused like a laser, and along with Sierra, Trustee Sierra, from the Southern District, to work on getting intentional tree and nature restoration so that folks in the South Side can benefit from having a place that they can go and feel calm, that can be aid in the cooling of the area. And really, when you do the research, urban forest concepts reduce violence, and so I'm going to get the hook here because I get to talking. So, and renewable energy, charging vehicles, charging stations, and expanding pickleball, of course.
Thank you, Joyce. Clearly, she's been busy. So now, Bernice Gordon-Young. Dr. Bernice Gordon-Young. Sorry, boo.
Good evening. Thank you to the PEORIA, Collaborative PEORIA for this invitation. I just love being around women and positive women anyway, so this is just amazing. Again, I am Dr. Bernice Gordon-Young, a 50-year resident of Peoria. I grew up here, went to Peoria Public Schools here. I graduated from Manual High School, very, very proud of that. I left here and went to Southern Illinois University where I earned my bachelor's degree in speech communication. I returned to Peoria, and actually many people don't know that I've worked for the airline industry. So I was one of those people throwing luggage and that, and what I realized through that space was that I like people. And I like watching people and observing people, and that's probably what led me into my career. I spent 18 years as a 911 dispatcher, so my history with public safety runs deep. That gave me experience in terms of understanding the systems. When we think of public safety, it's not just about the police department, it's the fire department as well, AMT, all of the public utilities that are included, code enforcement, and so those things, that's a unique perspective that I have. Also, I spent 15 years as a psychotherapist at OSF, and I just left there an office that had butterflies on the wall and potpourri smell to intentionally leave to go out to the Peoria County Jail because I knew that I could make a difference there. So again, we're talking about how do we affect change? Well, we have to meet people where they're at, and that's what I did. In addition to that, I also serve as a substance abuse counselor in Peoria Public Schools. So I go around to numerous schools in the city and work with our children. When I was thinking about what can I do to make a difference and why do I want to run, it's because what I do and what my life is stood for is public service. This is who I am. This is just another level of it. But when I returned home and started working as a 911 dispatcher, I listened to people. And I listened to people at their most critical moment. People don't call 911 because they're happy, right? And from there, I recognized that I had a skill set. That's when I went back and got my master's degree from Bradley University in counseling, in mental health counseling. And through that experience, it just really taught me this unique skill of listening and understanding the plight of people. So when I was thinking again, what's my platform going to be? There are 5 pillars that I established: public safety, economic and job development, infrastructure, healthcare, and mental health. There is no individual running or who has run that has a unique skill set that I have. We talk about the co-responders model. Well, I have experience with police. I also have experience in mental health to be able to provide insight into that perspective. Also, I'm a business owner. I've been a business owner for 22 years. My office is in the Twin Towers. I specifically work with individuals who are either high profile or they are on parole and probation. Those are things that I'm very, very passionate about. And again, through listening to people, I decided that I was going to go a little further. I was going to work outside of work. So what that means is the things that I mentioned, those are things that are related to my job, right? But outside of work, I founded It Takes a Village of Peoria, which is a nonprofit organization. And that started from a 17-year-old whose mother told me that she was depressed because she was losing weight. And through talking to her, I said, okay, well, let me just dig a little deeper. And she said to me, Miss Bernice, I'm not depressed. I take my lunch home so that my little brother can eat. And I decided in that moment, and it wasn't that I hadn't heard those stories before, but I decided I was going to get out of the office and I was going to do things more involved in the community. And I had been doing things, but I really wanted to affect change. And today we opened up our 4th free store. So we have a free store inside of Manual High School where kids go in there and shop for clothing, toiletries, food. We're giving out furniture, you guys. And we also have one at Knoxville Center for Student Success. We have a store at OSF. And then the 4th one is going to be at Mark Bill's. We will continue to roll those things out. But not only that, we've established partnerships in this community. Running for a public office, you have to have connections. You have to be able to partner with people. And I believe that I can do that, and I've been doing that. So with the nonprofit organization, what we have done is we have created this space of looking out for one another. I also serve as one of 4 people on the state level. I've been appointed by Attorney Kwame Raoul on the Illinois Opioid Remediation Advisory Board. So I'm one of 4 people who's responsible for 55% of $760 million. And that money is for intervention and prevention of the opioid crisis. So this isn't a new space in terms of making a difference, but it is one that I believe is critical. Infrastructure is my 3rd pillar. We have to, make sure we're taking care of our roads. There is a specific area in the East Bluff where there was sewage that was backed up, and those homeowners, some of them were renters, were responsible for their basements flooding. We have to make sure that those things are taken care of. And not only that, Peoria has become a medical mecca. It's a medical mecca. We have Unity Point, we have the Children's Hospital, we have OSF, we have the Cancer Center. We have so much here. We have the Ag Lab. Utilizing those resources that we have, when we're talking about economic and job development, starting from a younger age. I grew up at a time when we had co-op, right? And that's still happening, but really to bring that to the forefront again and put our people not in positions of working at the hospital in the kitchen. We're talking about creating careers, not jobs, and we can certainly do that. Also, mental health. We are really in a mental health crisis. If we don't take care of all those other things, our mental health will continue to plummet. There's no one that has a level of expertise. I went back and got my PhD. This is not a field where you have to have a PhD to practice. I got it because I wanted to have evidence-based practice. I wanted to have research. I'm a published author, and my published work is on success. We can talk about the plight of people, but what do we find? What do we know that creates success in people, specifically to this area? Those are things that I think are important, and it's not enough to just have empathy. That's a pep talk. Pep talks last for a little bit. But we have to teach people, and we have to incorporate strategies, again, that are evidence-based and research-proven. My course of action is 5 steps. Investing in all first responders. The Peoria Police Department and the Peoria Fire Department are responding to more mental health calls than they are fires and acts of criminal behavior. That is a fact. Making sure that we invest and make sure that they have all the apparatus that they need, I know what it means to have a 211 alarm, a 311 alarm, a 411 alarm. I know what mutual aid is. I know what it means to not have the appropriate apparatus or to have an engine shut down and you have to send someone from, 15 district to go down to the south side of Peoria. I know what that means in terms of response time. All those things matter and making sure that we are, taking care of our first responders. Growing our revenue. Diversifying and identifying additional streams of funding is essential. Making sure that we have technical assistance resources, that's going to be critical. Making sure that people are aware of what's available, especially for our startup companies, for our small business owners. I met a group of young ladies the other day, and they all received the RISE grants. They have amazing businesses that they're starting up, and they're really doing well. But making sure that people are aware of that. The third is expanding education and trades, understanding that the city council we don't govern, the board of education. We don't govern the school board, but collaborating with the school board, looking at Bradley University, ICC, making sure that we're all aligned together and creating that tunnel and that funnel for education from early birth through college. We have to stop the school to prison pipeline. And again, with the final pillar of mental health, we have to decriminalize mental health and destigmatize mental health. Again, I am Dr. Bernice Gordon-Young, running for City Council at large. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bernice. Okay, now we're at Anu Yudavolu. You're going to fix that when you get up here, right? Because I just butchered your name, my dear. Anu, and I practiced, but I'm sorry.
Good evening, everyone. How is everyone doing today? It's a nice weather, right? Oh, yeah. Let's wrap in a dress. After what, month or 2 months after? I would like to thank Collaborative Collective Peoria for organizing this event and everyone coming and my fellow candidates who are women who are running. Yay to us. Here we are. We made our first step. We put our ballots, petitions in. Now we are on the ballot and 1 month to go. Everyone, my name is Anu Yudavolu. Anu, it rhymes with the new. I'm the new future of Peoria. So if you ever forget my name, Anu, new future. I was born in India. I moved to America when I was a teenager. And I grew up in Midwest. I went to high school in Detroit suburbs, then college at Purdue, then law school in Michigan. Then I went off to New York. I took my bar exam in New York. I was a litigation attorney, also a pro bono attorney for almost 5-6 years. Then I met my husband, who is standing behind and who's taking my video. I fell in love with that man, so I decided to leave and come to Peoria. And Peoria has been my home for the last 10 years. I have a 8 months old son and a 2-year-old dog. This is home to us and this is where we belong. Peoria is my home. My passion for serving my community started since I was a teenager. It actually came to me, passed on to me from my great uncle. He is one of the first Indians who moved to this country in 1959. He came as a student to do his master's. He lived in Connecticut, Maryland. And when he was a student, he met someone at the university who he became friends with. After he graduated, this friend told him that he should go to Huntsville, Alabama for a job. He wrote him a recommendation on a piece of napkin. And my great uncle trusted him so much that he packed up his one suitcase that he has and his diploma, and he took a bus and he went to Huntsville, Alabama. He knocked on the doors of Alabama A&M, all-black university, with the chairman. And he gave him that napkin, and he got hired as a professor. And this is 1964 in Huntsville, Alabama. He went to a diner with his coworkers, and the waitress came over and told my great uncle that she wanted his coworkers to leave. She would not serve them because they don't belong there. And she asked him for his order, and he said no. So he got up to his coworkers, they left, and he came back later that day with his students and coworkers and started a sit-in in front of the diner. He thought it wasn't fair. He said everyone should be treated equally, no matter who we are, no matter what color of skin we are. This is our community, and we belong here. And you give back to the community you live in. And that's what he has done. To this day, he recently passed away in January at the age of 92. He has lived all his life in Huntsville, Alabama. Yeah, he became a dean of the chairman of the university, then a businessman. He has contributed a lot to the community he lived in. And that's what I believe in. He taught all of us that love the community you live in and give it back to it. And that's what I have been doing since I was a teenager. And even when I was a practicing attorney in New York, I worked as a pro bono attorney for the New York City civil courts. And I mentored youth in the community, helping them with tutoring them on SAT, college applications. I also tutored adults who were taking their citizenship test because English is a second language, and it was to me because I remember at the age of 18, I took the citizenship test myself. So I came to Peoria. As soon as I came in, somebody told me about Prairie State Legal Services. I contacted them, and I was their pro bono attorney, but for only a few months before the program got shut down due to lack of funding. But that didn't stop me. I found Easter seals, and I started volunteering for them. I have been supporting this Passage to India, an annual fundraiser for Easter seals that raises almost close to $1 million to $2 million a year, an event where I help with the coordinating cooking aspect, where we cook for all the guests that come in, up to 1,000, 1,200 people. I'm the board member, advisory board member of Women's Fund for Community Foundation of Central Illinois with my fellow candidate, Bernice Gordon-Young, because I strongly believe in empowering and strengthening women, because when we empower women and girls, we strengthen our families and communities. Yeah. And I'm also a proud member of Women in Leadership, where we do through networking and leadership, we try to mentor women. For the past 4 years, I've been a supply chain contract administrator for OSF. I work for a healthcare system where I do negotiation, execution of the contracts, and purchase, bringing products and services to provide best services for our community members. That is only a part of me, besides being a mom and a daughter and a wife and a worker. My passion is in serving the community. I'm a big believer in mentoring the youth. So during COVID, I actually started a program where mentoring youth in our community, where I want them to feel connected with the community they live in. So I started a program of getting them involved in philanthropy. One of the programs we did was Federal Census 2020. During that time, about 10 high school kids and I went to Martin Luther King Park, and we knocked on the doors, telling people to come out and fill in, help us participate in this federal census. They got to meet the city council, and our representative Jahan Gordon was there. The kids were super excited. They loved it. They thought they made a difference in the community they live, and they felt like they truly belong here. This is their community, and they want to make a difference. I guess my next step is I decided to throw my hat in the race for the city council, because one of the things is I want to mentor our next generation of youth. I want to see that they want to take on this role of serving the community and be a public servant. And one other thing is I want to improve our quality of life by bringing in, various businesses, arts, and culture to this community. Yes, Peoria used to be a caterpillar town. Now it's a medical hub. But we do have to diversify our businesses and our areas so that we are creating jobs in every category, from skilled laborers all the way to professionals. So we are going to provide, making sure there is a training available for all the youth and adults in every category. Next, I want to create a sustained environment for our area businesses, because I'm a champion of our small businesses, because they are the ones that drive this economy. And we need to make sure that we are creating a long-term, sustained environment for them to survive, and they are here. And as a city councilman, we're giving them the support that they need. Next, we are also supporting our youth, mentoring them. Speaking about it, 2 years ago, I became a commissioner for Joint Commission on Racial Equity Justice. I'm a co-chair for the Child and Youth Development. Later this month, a study is coming out that will be presented to the City Council regarding where our youth in our public schools are and where we need to take them to the next level. Because I strongly believe in mentoring and creating next generation of youth, because they are the talent that we have to retain in our community so that we can place them in the jobs that are already here, or when we bring in new businesses, we can fill those jobs with the new businesses where they are. So in the end, I just want to say I am the new future of Peoria, because I want to bring in new ideas and I want to be the collaborator. I am here to collaborate with every department and everyone. So everyone, vote for Anu Devolu, your new future of Peoria.
Regan Hill. Regan. You can bring the baby up if you want.
Good evening, everyone. First, thank you for the Collaborative of Peoria for having us and just an opportunity to speak. So I always like to just start with a little brief rundown of who I am. My name is Regan Leslie Hill, and I have been in Peoria since about 2016. Born and raised in Springfield, Illinois, and then attended Illinois Wesleyan University in Bloomington, and actually studied theater arts. So how did I get here? Fell in love with theater arts, graduated in 2009, worst time to have an art degree, and then got into logistics management. So I managed a small group of guys and handled last leg delivery services for larger companies. So that taught me a lot. Specifically, it taught me how to communicate with a variety of different people. And one thing that I will always say is everything was always changing. You go into 15 different homes in one day, you're dealing with 15 different scenarios, 15 different personalities, and figuring out how to effectively communicate was my strong suit. So it was time to plant some roots, buy a first home, and I cast my net in central Illinois, and Peoria stuck out like a shining star because of the potential that I saw in it. It was diverse, it had a vibrant art community, and it was some place that I could see being for the long haul. It was before I had my daughter, but I always thought buy a house, plant some roots, get involved, offer what you can to your community, and that I believe is the ask of every one of our citizens, and that's what I've been doing. So after moving to Peoria, I established my interior design firm. That's what I do professionally. And my design firm is specifically focused on historic preservation. That's just an aesthetic love of mine. I value old architecture from just an artistic perspective. But what I wanted to do is also highlight the diversity that our historic buildings represent. I got on social media and did Instagram, and my handle is BlackHouse7, and that actually got me a lot of recognition nationally. But what it is focused around is articulating the importance and the inclusion of minorities in historic architecture. So uncovering those stories and doing my best to include them for the next generation. So last year, as I'm working in the historic field in Peoria, I am involved in the Peoria Women's Club and sit on their preservation committee overseeing a $1.5 million restoration of their clubhouse. I also am soon to be appointed to the Historic Commission, which I just got news of, which I'm really excited about for the city of Peoria. But last year, I co-founded Urban Kind, which is an urban design, planning, and development firm with 4 other amazing human beings. And what our focus is user experience. So development from a user perspective means talking to the community that you're developing in, understanding what they're actually asking for, what they need, and then designing development around that. So I live in the center Bluff, but what we're more interested in is seeing those communities of color, the blighted areas of Peoria, which also happen to be the oldest parts of Peoria, and understanding that there's going to be development there, but doing it in an equitable way. So why am I running for park board? I think I can bring a unique perspective to the board, one that starts with collaboration. Collaboration has always been my superpower, if you will, but getting involved, showing up, shaking hands, asking questions, and in some spaces that you might not even understand the need to be there, but hey, I'm a part of this community and I want to know who you are and what you're doing to benefit it as well. The second is inclusive design, and I'm not speaking just design color-wise, but being intentional about being inclusive on the programs that we're offering, and making sure that we are understanding its effect, and constantly being able to pivot if it is not accomplishing the goal. I always say that things that work today might not work in 5 years, and that's okay. That's the great thing about growth and development, but always being conscious of that and always asking each day what we can do better. And then the last is sustainability. So obviously historic preservation is a lot of sustainability, but that comes in a wide range. Our green spaces are important. Our green spaces are important to remain accessible to the masses. I think that the park is one of those front doors of our community's engagement. That's where a lot of our community members meet the city. And I think being able to be accessible and also look for avenues look for ways of inhabiting spaces that we may not otherwise have the opportunity to do. And I'll use an example. My daughter, she's my one and only. I'm a single mom, so I always say I pour everything into her. But we do horseback riding. And she rides out in Brimfield, because obviously horses aren't near town. And I was driving out there and realized, you know, this is inaccessible for so many people just simply because of the proximity. Simply because of its proximity, it is inhibiting so many of us to get involved. And so those are just an example of different recreational activities that we can be offering our youth. You know, fencing is another one that it's not normally offered, but I'd love to look for opportunities to offer recreational programs specifically for youth of color that otherwise would not have just even the knowledge of it, let alone the experience. So again, collaborating. I am relentless when it comes to getting involved. Which I think many can speak to. I'm always at City Hall. I was there last night till about 10 o'clock because it's important. It's important to understand what's going on. And I think talking with our community, again, having that ongoing conversation is important. It's something that I have been doing, that I understand is at the crust of what we want in a representative, and I'm committed to doing that. So trying to think if there's anything else I need to share. If I can okay, I'll wrap it up. But my name is Reagan Leslie Hill. Again, I'm running for Park Board Trustee of the Central District, and I ask for your vote on April the 4th. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last candidate that's going to come up and speak is Pastor Claire Underwood Foreman.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you to our host tonight for having me to be a part of this great event. Is that better? And also thank you to you for being here tonight. And if you're like me, there's so many other things that you could be doing tonight, but you're here because you are concerned about your city and you want the best for your city. Let me introduce myself. I am Clara Underwood Foreman, and I am a candidate for Peoria City Council at large. And I like to put emphasis on the large part because that gives me the opportunity to serve all of Peoria, not just some areas, but all of Peoria. I've lived here over 40 years. I came here from New York, and you know that's a big difference. So many people in New York, and when I came to Peoria, I said, okay, yeah, this is where I want to be. But being here, I've had the opportunity to engage in the community, to build relationships. Being a pastor for over 20 years also afforded me that as well. I was able to get into the community and talk to people and find out the things that they are facing, the different challenges that they have, and being able to direct them to different resources. And just that building relationship, I believe, is very important. I was a caseworker for the Southside Mission. I had an opportunity to work with women and families that was really struggling, really trying to find their way. That was one of the most important jobs I believe I've ever had. I am the chapter coordinator for Crime Survivors for Safety and Justice, which is an awesome organization that deals with helping survivors, helping families that have lost loved ones to the street, grandmothers and fathers that have lost ones because of gun violence. We also, the same organization, we also go to Springfield once a year, which is coming up in May, Survivor Speaks, which is we go to Springfield and we talk with legislators so that we can get whatever is needed so that it can help the different families. And I say we, I am a survivor. I lost both my sons to gun violence, and that just gave me a passion to be able to help other parents that have lost loved ones as well. And also, if I can be of help to keep anybody else from going through that, that is exactly what I want to do. I am a real estate investor. I buy buildings, I fix them up. I bought a building over on Western, renovated it for young men and women to have a nice place to live. They fixed the streets, they put the street lights, and it is beautiful. And it gives the young people a place to live, because most of the time when you go looking for a job, you can't even get the job if you don't have a place to live. And so that was one of my desires, was to be able to do that. We're asking the young people to stop the violence. We're asking them to put down the guns, to stop selling drugs, but we're not giving them an alternative. And so that's one of the things I want to be a part of, is helping young people, young men, young ladies to help find their way. I also founded an organization called MASK, and this happened after I lost my first son, Reginald, to gun violence, and his Mothers Against Street Crime. We had an office up in City of Refuge called the Healing Center, and the families would come together, and we cried and we prayed, and we just held on to one another to be able to make it through the journey. I have a business called Personal and Professional Development Center, and what we do there, we help young men, young women, old men, old women to learn how to interview for jobs, to learn how to dress for jobs, to learn how to speak, to learn how to be able to go into the job and not, carry the street in with them or whatever, to be able to be successful in that. And lastly, I founded an organization called the Building Hope Project. I want to be able to build hope, and that's what's going on with so many of our young people now. They're hopeless. They feel like there is no hope. So I want to be a part of that. Now, there's a lot of issues that Peoria has, and I don't even venture to say that I can solve all of them. But together, I believe that we can. If we work together, we can solve some of the major issues that's going on in our city. Real quickly, I just want to point out 3 points as far as my platform is concerned. The first one is safety. And I have a vested interest in that because of what I've gone through in dealing with the tragedy of losing a loved one of my sons to gun violence. Now, if we don't deal with the safety issue that we have, it's going to affect the rest of the city. We have got to deal with that. And I believe bringing law enforcement and the community together is going to really help to stop the crime that's going on in our city. One of the, I believe one of the problems with the project that was introduced to us several weeks ago, why there was so much dissension and contention in reference to that, is because of inclusion. They feel like they was not included in the process, in the decision-making process that would bring this project together. I believe that the community should be included in coming up with solutions to deal with the safety issue, because it mostly affects the community. So that's one of the things I want to do when it comes to safety, is bring the community to the table so that they'll be able to have an input on what concerns their lives. Number 2 is economic development. People, because of fear, don't want to engage in the community, and especially when it comes to businesses. They don't want to go out, because you go to the mall and you're subject to be right in the middle of a fight or shooting. They don't want to send their children to school, because when they get to school, who knows what may happen at school. So people don't want to engage into the community. So if they don't engage into the community, if they don't patronize our businesses, we're going to have a bigger problem than what we have. We have businesses that have left Peoria. We have businesses that closed down. We have businesses that are still here, but they're struggling because people are not going out and patronizing the businesses, doing a whole lot of online shopping, which is not benefiting our city. So those two things work together. You got to get that safety together in order to help our economy and to cause economic growth. And lastly, we got to deal with the infrastructure. So you may be saying, so how does that help in that area? How do they work together? When we get our roads fixed and we began to deal with the dilapidated housing and so forth, it's going to bring people back into the community. And when we bring people back into the community, then the investors is going to say, okay, now we got people here. Now we can work with this community and bring back grocery stores and all of the different businesses that we need. Vote Clara Underwood Foreman. I was last tonight and I'm last on the ballot. So one of the things, last thing that pulled my whole platform together is you. Working for you. Making sure that your well-being is first priority. I'm Clara Underwood Foreman. Vote last one on the ballot.
Wow, that's a pastor's voice there. I felt like putting my Baptist finger up when I was walking. So, as an old union head, we used to chant. So, you know, we're kind of quiet right now, right? So the first thing I want to say to you is Happy Women's History Month. About all the women's shoulders that you are standing on and having the opportunity to be a candidate, to run for office, because it wasn't that long ago that women were not allowed to run for office. Let's not forget. Let's not forget. We are so powerful as women. Tonight really was about coming together as women. That was the vision for tonight. Not in a competitive spirit, but in a united spirit. Because believe me, ladies, sisters, there is a lot of work ahead of you. We are honored to have officials in the room who are currently serving. And they will tell you a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of work, a lot of bullying. This is the reality. Am I being a downer? No, I'm a realist. You know I am. I work as hard as I ask anyone else to work. We all wear so many hats. So I want to tell you just how powerful this room is. We are mothers. I just canvassed. We are mothers, grandmothers, aunts, nourishers, wives, widows, single mothers, entrepreneurs, pastors, bailiffs, union leaders, educators, architectural and interior designers, psychologists, retired public service workers, attorneys, civil rights leaders, not-for-profit CEOs, board presidents, board trustees, city and county officials, corporate America leaders, homeowners, and small business owners. Right in there. Get on up. Give yourselves a hand for who you are. To God be the glory for all of our sisters on tonight. So you know I got a big mouth, and you know that I'm in good trouble. I'm always in good trouble, right? Because I've been working most of my life for workers' rights, civil rights, and women's rights. Come on. Yes, sis. And I was telling my sister on today, I decided a while back that this voice will only be used for those issues. Because that's how serious this election is. Before I go on to show you as a mother and and what we go through, Kelly
Daniels was here tonight, as you know. She had to run out on an emergency with her family. So I told her, I said, you know what, sister, don't even worry about it. You go do that, we'll cover you. So I'm gonna ask Trustee Board, ICC, Gail Zephyr, to come up and just say a few words, Gail, about Kelly, who you serve with and who is an incumbent. Give her a hand as she comes up.
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, I want to make sure that I definitely want to support Kelly, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about her, but I also want you to make sure that you cast a vote for Miss Alma back there, too. Okay? So, you have an opportunity to cast 3 votes. So please cast 1 for Alma, and please, please, cast 1 for Kelly. It's truly unfortunate that she had to leave tonight. As some of you may or may not know, I'm now serving my 10th year on the ICC Board of Trustees. Kelly has just been an amazing addition to the board. With Kelly's help, we have now held tuition for 4 years in a row. And it's been a little bit of a fight. But Kelly has held true to the concept that we need to make ICC affordable. And not just for everyone who gets Pell Grants or MAP grants, but for the regular, ordinary individuals. But she has been amazing. She's currently the chair. She'll be giving up the chair to me here in about a month or so. But she she's there fighting for all the students. She's a measured voice, she's a hard worker, and I'd like to keep her on the board and have Miss Alma come along and sit right next to her as well. Thank you very much.
Before we leave, we'd like to recognize some of our leaders in the room. Some of you are incumbents, so these are sitting leaders now. You've already had an opportunity to speak. We're not going to ask you to speak on tonight, but we just want to recognize you. First of all, in her absence, we want to acknowledge our Honorable Mayor, Dr. Rita Ali. And in her absence, we'd like to recognize and honor Illinois State Representative Jahan Gordon Booth, who is the Speaker Pro Tempore of the Illinois House of Representatives. We'd like to recognize Peoria County Clerk Rachel Parker, who is in the House with these good old suits. And we'd like to recognize Peoria Township Supervisor Latrina Leary. Please stand so people will know who you are. We'd like to recognize our Jackie Petty, Peoria Park District Trustee. We'd like to recognize Lori Covington, Peoria Park District Trustee. We'd like to recognize Camille Coates, Peoria County Board Member. Are we proud of them? Whoa! Now let me share something with you right quick. Let me share something with you. There is a movement. You know, I keep my ear to all kind of across the aisle, in the roof, wherever I gotta be. There is a movement. Oh, you know what, before I go further, thank you, brothers, for being here. Husbands, community workers, community activists, thank you for being here. And Walt, thank you so much for having us on tonight. There is a movement to remove women from politics. Did you hear what I said? Yes, ma'am. Okay. I didn't think. Well, mic check. There is a movement, a purposeful movement, right wing, to remove women, and especially those women who stand for women's rights, out of office. Okay. So listen. This is a pivotal election. Don't sleep it. Don't relax. Be thinking about policy. Be thinking about what you're going to to give, what you're going to offer. I think, sis mentioned, we have 2 town hall meetings coming up. One on Monday the 6th, where our candidates will be there for the Park District, ICC, and school board. And then on the 20th, that will be City Council at large. We ask the hard questions. These aren't cookie cutter questions. Get your homework, do your homework. Think about where you want to be. Think about what you want to do. Because we are so proud of all of our candidates. But tonight, well, we are so proud of all of our candidates that are here tonight. Let me be real clear. We are really proud of the women candidates who are here tonight, and everyone was invited. So we are so thankful for you being here on tonight. Now, this is not a downer. This should excite you. This should ignite you. This should mobilize you, and you should be on the phone 24/7, getting your sisters and your brothers out to those polls. Is that right?
That's right.
Is that right? So this is the motivation part. You know, Facebook, Twitter, Twatter, whatever. Get on it, get your face out there, right? Let people know who you are. You can't do this from the back seat. Those days are over. Get your face out there, put it out there. If you think, oh my God, I'm so tired, I know people are tired of me, that's all right, let them be tired of you, because when they get to the polling place, we want them to remember you. So before we go, I'm just going to mention names one more time. Dr. Bernice Gordon-Young, please stand. Anu Udavalo. Anu. Clara Underwood Foreman. Joyce Parent. Reagan Leslie Hill. Alma Brown. Kelly Daniels. Martha Ross. In her absence. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Stay encouraged. You know we're working with you. We want you to win. We want you to win. We want you to win. Be careful going